So this is Liz Christofferson on behalf of Practice Pace Solutions. Thank you to everyone who has joined us on the webinar today. We're very excited. We have a wonderful, wonderful guest speaker. These sessions are provided through Practice Pace Solutions, and we have a wonderful guest, Denise Hedges, who's going to present on Build Your Business by Speaking, the Inside Scoop. I want to just give you a little bit of the logistics before we make our introduction and hand things off to our speakers. So those of you who are interested, a copy of the presentation and the recording will be provided via email by Practice Pace Solutions after the program. We want to encourage you, if you have questions or comments, you can use your chat box or the question box. We will be monitoring those throughout the program and add that wonderful feedback into the presentation. And later on in the program, you'll have an opportunity via a hyperlink to learn more about what Denise has to offer. So I want to go ahead and shift gears now and tell you a little bit about Denise Hedges, who is the co-founder of Business Breakthrough Institute. We also have a special surprise today in that she's joined by Tom Waldenfeld, who is her presentation coach. Tom teaches Business Breakthrough Institute's presentation skills workshops with Denise, so it's a treat to have them both on the call today. And let me tell you a little bit about them. Excuse me. Denise is a marketing strategist and business development coach with over 25 years experience in sales and marketing. She's also someone who's generated over $750,000 in coaching income directly from speaking. Now, I have to say that again because I know many coaches don't get to that place. $750,000 in coaching income directly from speaking. Denise has helped thousands of coaches, consultants, and service-based business owners move past any uncertainty or fear they have about sales and marketing so they can attract more clients and make a lot more money. Denise is a member of the Coach University faculty, training life and business coaches worldwide. Tom is a presentation skills specialist with over 25 years experience helping people present themselves and their ideas in the most compelling and impactful way possible. He's taught presentation skills to everyone from college students to high-level corporate executives to small business owners. Tom's conducted hundreds of 3-day intensive workshops for corporate clients, including Nortel, Entergy, Houston Lighting and Power, Bell Northern Research, First Energy, Northeast Utilities, and Ameren. It's no stretch to say that thousands of people have benefited from Tom's down-to-earth training and insightful coaching. Today, Denise and Tom are going to share with us everything you need to know to build your business by speaking and give us the inside scoop. So on behalf of Practice Pace Solutions, Carol Vickers and myself, Tom and Denise, welcome and thank you so much for sharing your brilliance with us.
Oh boy, brilliance. Thank you, Liz. Appreciate that setup. Boy, we sound pretty good, don't we? You never sound any better than you do on your resume. Okay, let's get things going here this morning, or this afternoon, depends on where you are. We're on the East Coast talking to you. It's a beautiful day here, and I just want to get going by asking Denise this question. So how many years has it been since you got started coaching?
11 and a half.
Okay, so 11 and a half years. And I know how successful you are. You're very successful at this. And as Liz was saying, not everybody is when they get into the coaching business. So what I want to start out with is tell us how you got started with your own practice. Just give us a little bit of the background and how you got going.
Okay, great. So I'm going to wind back the clock, not all the way to the 11-and-a-half-year mark, because I worked a full-time job, attended Coach U, got my coach training, coached part-time.
Right.
And then in January of 2003, I took the leap, and I resigned a very secure, very good-paying position with the city of Asheville here in North Carolina because I was going to build my coaching practice full-time. Now, I'm single, and I don't have a trust fund or anything like that. And honestly, I had a handful of clients paying me a total of $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, that's just not going to cut it. And I've got about a year or less to build a full practice and replace the income and the benefits that I just walked away from.
Yeah.
And part of me was really scared. Part of me thought, this may have been the stupidest thing I've ever done. But the other part of me, and you just know, the other part of me just knows that this was my purpose. This is my passion in life, and this is why God put me on this earth. And I can feel that right now as I'm saying it to you.
Yeah.
I'm here to make that difference. And so I struggled at first, and I did all the things I now see new coaches and new business owners doing, emphasizing passive marketing strategies over active ones, doing things I really didn't like to do, thinking I had to do networking meetings and going to chamber of commerce meetings, things I really didn't enjoy,
Right.
but I thought that I should be doing. And then I took my background in sales and marketing, and I actually mapped it on to building a coaching practice. I took what I already knew and used it to get strategic. And that's when I started speaking. And I started pretty small at first, speaking to local groups and chapters of organizations within an hour or so of my home. And I built a full practice, replacing all of that income and those benefits that I just walked away from in under a year. And since then, I've more than tripled my income using the tools and the strategies that I'm going to teach our listeners today. As you know, I travel all over the country doing 15 to 20 speaking engagements a year. I've spoken to groups as small as 6, as big as 1,100.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Been paid $5,000 for a 45-minute keynote a few times. But as Carol said, more importantly, I've generated more than $750,000 in coaching income directly from speaking. And that's why I'm here today. I'm passionate about teaching other coaches and other business owners how to do the very same thing.
Yeah, and that's been in, like you say, 10 to 11 and a half years. And, I mean, you really got it down to a system now to where it functions as a pipeline for your clients, and it's pretty darn reliable.
Absolutely. And repeatable.
Right.
That's the thing that I want to teach people is use the system. It's repeatable. You can get these results too.
Yeah, right, exactly. So it's not like, I wouldn't say just anybody can do it because there are certain things you have to have, but a lot of people think they can't do this, and I just don't think that's the case. I think if you're smart enough to be a coach, you're certainly capable enough to learn another set of skills, which is how to go out and book these speeches and actually give the presentations and turn those referrals into clients. So.
And then the key is, of course, and what I want to teach them today is the specifics, because there's a lot of coaches out there speaking, but they sit there and they tell me as I travel the country, I'm not making any money from speaking, and I'm like, well, something's wrong with the system.
Right. I mean, you have to do the right things when you're out doing that. So, okay, so tell us what we're going to be talking about in the next hour.
Okay, great. I want to start by giving you just a quick key to success in marketing. It's what formed the basis for my success, and I want our listeners to have that as well.
Okay.
Then we're going to do some logistics. We're going to look at how do you find the right groups to speak to, and where do you find those groups, and how do you get the speech scheduled.
Yeah.
Then we're going to go to one of the most important pieces of all. How do you make an offer from the stage? An offer that comes out like a pro, not salesy, authentic and genuine, so that people really, really want to take part in your offer.
Right, because that's the key. You can be doing these presentations, but if you don't have that working for you, that's really where it breaks down a lot of the times. Yeah, okay. Okay, what else?
And then I want to end by giving you the 6 key elements. We're going to go back a little bit to the 6 key elements that must be present in your presentation in order for you to get the success that we're talking about.
Cool. Okay, so that's a lot. So get started. What's the key to success that you mentioned? What's the key to success in marketing?
Well, here's the thing. The purpose of all of your marketing is not to get clients. Whoa, people look at me funny when I say that.
Yeah.
The purpose of your marketing is not to get new clients or to get clients. The purpose of your marketing is to generate complimentary consultations or sample of your work See, when you change your mindset from getting clients to getting complimentary consultations, everything, your whole, because you can't help it. When you're focused on getting the client, what happens?
Well, you try too hard a lot of times, I think. I think that's part of it, especially if you're new in the business. I mean, you really need clients. So it's like, please, you know, I really need you, so, yeah.
So you try too hard.
Try too hard.
You might push. You might be a little bit pushy.
Maybe, even if it's not your nature, or you might just back off entirely and not be assertive in the least, or, you know, and not make a bona fide offer that's of value to people.
Right. It's just as much. People either go one way or the other.
Right.
They either get too pushy or salesy because that's what they've seen modeled out there in the world, or they don't want to be pushy, and so what they do is they're too timid and they don't say what they need to say.
Yeah, amen.
Okay?
Right.
So the thing you want to remember is that when you're focused on complimentary sessions, you're not focused on selling. You're focused on serving.
Yeah, that's big.
And when you're focused on serving, everything shifts. And that's why you became a coach or started your own business to begin with, is because there was something you wanted to share with the world.
Right. Yeah, and it's ironic that people think that it has to be something different. Getting clients involves something different. It involves serving people. Yeah, I'm with you.
So a key in marketing is that people buy in bite-sized pieces. And the complimentary session gives them the chance firsthand to see the impact of your coaching. What kind of difference can you make in their life? You get to check each other out. You see if you're a good match, and you can serve them. And bottom line, when marketing goes from selling to serving, it becomes easier. It's a whole lot more fun, and the stress comes right out of it.
Yeah. Oh, whew. Absolutely. That's big.
So here's the key, Tommy. When you combine a well-crafted, value-filled speech with an offer that's compelling for a complimentary session, that's a 1-2 punch. That's a strategy that's unmatched than any other strategy that I know.
Right. Right. And part of that is because you're talking to a lot of people at one time, as opposed to a one-to-one kind of thing. Yeah. So that's huge. Okay. I want to go broach another subject here, and that is, I know we both hear a lot of people talking about wanting to get paid speaking engagements. I mean, you got this spectrum. You got some people who are afraid to speak at all, which I can understand it, but really, honestly, there's no reason for it in most cases. And then there's people on the other side that would like to go as fast as they could toward getting paid speaking engagements. So what's your take on that?
Well, I want to call our listeners' attention to the slide that we just put up. And I want to talk about the leverage of speaking. And I'm talking here, the examples we see here are a free speaking engagement.
Right.
And I'm going to show you how it's not so free.
Okay, good.
So let's say you're a new coach, or maybe you're just new to speaking.
Okay.
And you're talking to a room of about 40 people. Realistically, if you make a solid offer, you can expect 10 to 20% of the room to sign up for a complimentary session.
Okay.
Okay? 10 to 20% of the room means you've just generated 4 to 8 people who are interested in your services. Now, if you do the complimentary, the complimentary consultation in the way that we prescribe, then you're going to convert 50% of those people from potential clients to actual clients.
Okay.
And what that means, you just got 2 to 4 new clients. Now, I just put in a number here, kind of a low average number of assuming that as a coach you're generating $400 a month for coaching. For some of us it's going to be higher. For newer ones it might be lower.
Right.
But $400 is a kind of basic low average.
Okay.
At $400 a month, average client stays with you 6 months. You just generated $4,800 to $9,600 from your free speaking engagement. Okay?
Right, and that's assuming that people only stay 6 months, too.
Exactly.
And that's average. Yeah, but I think that's realistic, for sure.
Right, but you know as well as I do, I've got people that have been with me 8 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay?
Right.
So let's talk about a real-life example. One of mine, this is real, and let's look at what's possible once you get a bit more experience with speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So here I was 2 years ago speaking to a room of 32 people. It was the perfect day. This is a high average.
Yeah, this was one that went really well.
Right. Okay? So, but it's definitely doable.
But it's not atypical.
Right.
It's just a little on the good side.
But when I say it was a perfect day, I mean it was my target market.
Right.
They were engaged.
Right.
I was in my element.
You are on fuego.
And the stars were aligned.
Right.
Right? And I got a 44% return. 44% of that room signed up for a complimentary consultation.
Yeah.
That means 14 comp sessions.
Okay.
Again, these percentages are right on the money. 50% conversion rate, 7 new clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now this number is as of about 3 months ago because I didn't have my bookkeeper run the numbers again.
Well, right, and the meter is still running.
The meter is still running.
Okay.
I've generated $35,976
Wow.
from that one free speaking engagement.
Well, the meter really is still running. Okay.
And why the meter is still running is a couple of things.
Okay.
I also got 3 more speaking engagements directly from that engagement.
Aha.
I got a webinar with a strategic alliance directly from that engagement, and I have clients working with me 2 years later, so the meter is running.
Wow.
Now, when you take those 3 speaking engagements in the webinar I got, right, and add that to the 35,000, look at where the numbers are.
Wow.
So when people say to me, "Oh, I don't want to speak for free," I say, "Neither do I."
Yeah, really. Well, you know, and you can't blame them because they don't understand the backside of this. And you didn't tell me there was going to be any math in this presentation. It turned out to be. Okay. Here we go. Okay. Now let's talk about getting started. Okay, so that's pretty impressive, and I'm sure people are interested. And it's like, wow, I'd love to be able to do that, but you know, so many times it's like, yeah, okay, fine. But how do you really do it? So where do you find the right kinds of groups to speak to, and how do you get the speech scheduled?
So let me ask you a question first. I'm setting you up because I think you know the answer to this. You've been working with me long enough.
Okay.
What's the most critical factor in finding the right groups to speak
Well,
to?
you got to be speaking to the people who want what you or need what you have to offer and are willing to pay for it.
Well, they have to be your target market.
Right,
They have to be your ideal clients, right?
Exactly.
Because I don't care how compelling your speech is,
Right.
what a great job you did, how inspired you leave them. If they aren't your target market, even if you generate the complimentary sessions, you may not generate the clients.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to be really looking at the people who are in your target market. I got that. Go.
So some of the best ways to find groups to speak to is simply to use your search engine in Google's and search by keywords.
Got it. Okay.
So use various search terms. So if your target market is women business owners, you're going to use search terms like women business owners, women in business, professional women's groups, professional and business women's groups, business organizations, business associations. You get your keywords, you mix them up a little bit, and then you take those same keywords and you put your city and state afterwards. Because depending on how far a radius you want to travel to do speaking, and I would recommend for those starting out not to fly places, but just to drive 2 to 3 hours from their home, whatever city and state you modify from this, you're going to find different groups.
Okay.
Now there's other resources available, but the best thing to do is just to use your free resource on the internet.
Okay, so that's not hard, but it's a little bit tedious maybe. So you gotta keep track of all this stuff. So you're using a spreadsheet or a database to track. Okay, so what are you doing there? What's the?
Some people use, fancy databases. There's all kinds of those specialty databases out there. We track everything in Excel. We just put it in a spreadsheet, and we're tracking the key things. We're tracking the name of the group, their website, the contact person, the person who's going to book the speaker. So that could be the program chair, the education chair. Sometimes if it's more of an association, it might be the executive director. But it's easy to find the speaker chair, program chair, or education chair. Now, what you're going to find when you look on their websites is you're going to find their email addresses. You don't want just their email addresses. You want to go searching for their phone numbers. You want your first contact to be by phone.
Right.
So you want to do a little extra searching, again, just
A
on the
little
internet.
detective work, but you can do it in most cases, right?
Yeah, especially with LinkedIn and everything else out there, you can find people,
Right.
and you get their phone numbers. So
Okay.
you're going to track name of the group, website, contact person's email and phone number, and then any specific notes you find. And that can be their membership format, what kind of speakers they've had in the past, what their mission is, and then anytime you contact them, you want to put that contact in the comment section so that you can keep track. Because I'm going to have you really preferably looking at 20 to 25 groups at a time.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you're tracking your conversations, because there's nothing worse than when somebody calls you back and you're thinking, oh, which one is that?
Right. Okay. So you just got to manage it well.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So once you've done all of that and you've got your thing and you've made your phone calls, well, are you ready to make calls at that point? I guess that's the question I'm asking. Are you ready once you've identified the thing and who they are? Do you make the calls?
Not quite yet.
Oh.
We got one more piece.
Okay.
Okay? You have to craft 2 compelling speech topics.
Okay. So really what you're offering.
Right. You want to come up with 2 topics so that you give them a choice between A or B. More than 2 gets too confusing for folks. Do you want vanilla, chocolate,
right.
strawberry, pistachio, blah, blah, blah. So 2 compelling speech topics,
Okay.
each of them having a 1-paragraph description
Simple.
that speaks exactly to what you're speaking about,
Right.
and then 3 to 5 bullets of what the audience members are going to take away.
Right. So what's in it for the audience?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you're going to use those descriptions in the next initial call to the group and also in the follow-up materials that come to them.
Okay.
Okay? Now, a caveat here. You can do an outline of your speech here, enough to create enough confidence so that you can speak about these speeches on the call, but do not create the whole speech. Many people want to sit there and create the whole speech because it's safer, it's easier. I'm working on my marketing, I'm writing my speech. 3 months later, I got a speech written. Okay, I want you to get on the phone.
Got it.
So once you have that, you are ready to talk to that meeting planner.
Right. Because if you book a speech, you'll write it.
Yeah, you better.
Right. Okay, let's talk about that first call to the meeting planner program chair. What's that about?
Well, remember, you're not trying to close them on this call.
Right.
And remember, you are also doing them a favor.
Exactly.
You aren't selling them anything.
Okay.
They need speakers. You're doing them a favor. You're making their job easier by giving them something of value. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So in your call, get them interested in, or inspired by what you have to offer. Talk to them. Listen to them. You're a coach. Find out what their group needs and wants.
Of course.
What their participants really need and want.
Nothing more important than that.
Answer their basic questions.
Right.
Determine their level of interest.
Mm-hmm.
And then don't stop there. Make sure that they fit your criteria.
Yeah, that gets back to the target market thing, or else you could be wasting your time.
Right. So you want to pre-qualify them with, are they your target market? How often do they meet?
Right.
How many people are really showing up to their meetings?
Yeah.
Are they, my poor partner Barbara in California did a great, we did all the qualifying that we thought to do. And one thing we didn't ask was the age of the participants. She had 90-year-olds in the group.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure you do everything you can to pre-qualify them. Now remember, when you get ready to call them, you're going to create kind of bullet points that you want to cover with them. Don't create a script because then you're going to sound scripted, but just brief bullet points of what you want to say to them when you call them.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so what kind of materials are you following up with? What do you send them after you've talked to them?
Well, first of all, I want to tell you that you want to follow up by email.
Yeah.
And you want to follow up within 24 to no more than 48 hours later.
Right. Okay. Makes sense.
You want to make sure that you're following up when, you're still fresh on their mind.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And that email looks like what?
In that email, what you're going to tell them is who you are, remind them of your call. You're going to give them your brief positioning statement, or what most people know as an elevator speech, so they know what you specialize in.
Right.
You're going to give them those 2 speech descriptions with the bullets and the 1-paragraph description. Any testimonials that you have about speaking. If you don't have them at first, fine. But when you are out there speaking, make sure you get testimonials from your meeting organizers. That's really important. A website link maybe a link to an audio if you have it, and then close with telling them when you're going to follow up or what the two of you decided on. So I know you're going to bring this to your board on January 10th. I'll give you a call a couple days thereafter.
Okay, cool. So you sent the email. They've got the information. How quickly until booking?
You know, once in a while you get the words, bam, I want you, and it's immediate.
Right, or they've had a cancellation or something. And
Right.
they're like, oh, thank God you called.
But oftentimes it does take 5 to 7 calls.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so
you got to be patient and persistent.
You do. You have to be polite. You can't be like, I've called you 32 times.
Right, okay.
Right? But be persistent. Don't leave messages for folks.
Okay, that's big.
Our experience is they don't return your calls. They're volunteers in organizations that are doing this as a volunteer experience because they believe in their organization. They typically have full-time jobs. They're probably not going to return your call, so don't leave messages. Just try calling them at different times of day until you catch them. And that's why I want you to always be in action, because you want to be working on 20 to 25 groups at a time, because they're going to be at different levels,
right.
And so you don't want to put all your eggs in like 3 baskets.
Right, I got that. Okay, so I want to make a fairly big leap here. You say you've done all your setup work. Let's say you've done that. You've got a group that wants you to speak to them. You've got a written agreement. Okay, but as we talked about before, that isn't going to do you much good unless you make a powerful offer. I mean, there are a lot of speakers out there who aren't getting the results, and it's because they aren't making, and sometimes they aren't making an offer at all, which is astounding to me, because you can't, quote unquote, in sales talk, you can't get the order if you don't make the offer, right?
Right.
Okay, so anyway, to talk a little bit about that.
About the offer itself?
Yeah, about the offer.
Okay. So remember our key to success we talked about earlier? That in order for people to move from hearing you speak or even meeting you, but we're talking about speaking,
right,
to hiring you as their coach,
right,
they really need a safe, low-risk way to check you out first.
Absolutely.
And that's where the complimentary session comes in.
Right.
It gives a person an opportunity to check you out in a low-risk way and see whether you're a good match.
It's perfect.
So the key is to connect what you've just given them in your speech to your offer in a way that's seamless.
Right.
It's not like, okay, now I turn into the used car salesman.
All right.
Okay? So I'm going to model for our folks today what I typically offer, and then I want us to take a quick look at how that landed for people. I'm going to ask people to put some comments in the chat box or questions if they have them.
Very good.
But I'm going to model it, and let's see how it lands.
Okay.
Okay?
Fantastic.
So the key is to take something that you've learned today and put it into action so that you can have a life and a business that fulfills you in every way. You see, I can give you the keys to the kingdom, but if you don't use them to open up the door, then this is just a pleasant luncheon we've had today, but it's not going to make any real difference in your life. And I'm committed to making a difference. So I have an offer for some of you today, and that's an offer to do a complimentary coaching session with me. And the purpose is really threefold. First, you'll have the opportunity to see what kind of impact my coaching can have on you, your business, your bottom line. You get to check me out and see if I might be the right kind of coach for you. And frankly, I get to check you out too to see if you're the right kind of client for me. Now it's free. We'll do it over the phone, and there's no obligation. And I'm willing to talk with any one of you here today who's really serious about moving forward, building that business, taking those actions. Somebody who's committed to being in action so that you can have the life and the business that fulfills you in every way. So I'm going to pass around some clipboards. They have some dates and some times. And then I set some clipboards around the room, and people sign up for specific dates and times for their coaching session.
And sometimes they fight over the clipboard. I've seen it. I've seen it happen.
Okay. So, Liz, I know you've been quiet for a while. I want to put you on the spot. Can I do that? Liz?
I may
Okay,
need to
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we
There
can.
you are.
There I are. Absolutely, you can put me on the spot.
So, Liz, tell me, and while I'm putting Liz on the spot, I'd like any of our listeners to give us their comments about what they heard, what they liked, what worked for them, and anything they may not have liked, anything they want to do differently or questions they have.
Mm-hmm.
So, Liz, how about you? What did you think of that offer?
So here's a couple of things that just sort of resonated with me. Of course, everything that you're talking about resonates with me really well. In fact, if you ask my team members about the whole concept of complimentary sessions and speaking and all of that, that is a big part of our business model and our success. But what resonated with me is just the heartfelt way that you expressed, if you want to call it a challenge, question, and you were really, really clear. You clearly defined the kind of person that you would want to work with. You talked about people needing to be willing to move into action. You talked about it in a way that made it feel very safe and very comfortable. So I could see why people would actually, as Tom says, fight over the clipboards, because you feel compelled to find out more, right, to sign up for that complimentary session, and begin to think in your mind about, gosh, what are all the things that Denise and I could talk about that would help me be better at my speaking, be better at growing my business, et cetera, et cetera. So I think there were a lot of things that you shared in what you said, and you did it in a very concise, very compelling, very heartfelt way.
Thank you. Is there anything that didn't resonate with you? I'm a big girl. I can take it.
No, I can't honestly say there wasn't anything that didn't resonate with me, other than when you did say, you hand out the clipboards, and I sat here thinking to myself, how's she going to hand out clipboards virtually? I don't think so.
That's great. Yes, I was modeling an in-person speech. Thank you.
Those are really good comments, Liz. I think you hit on a lot of what really makes these things work, what makes this offer work. Yeah, thanks for that.
The biggest compliment, Liz, that you could give me is that you said it was heartfelt.
Yeah.
I can remember being in Scranton, Pennsylvania, speaking to a group of business owners there.
In the wintertime.
Doing this very presentation, a longer version of this presentation. And I did my offer, and I asked the room, what did you think? What did you hear in that? And there was a woman who said, I don't know what you just did, but I want to cry.
Yeah.
And then another lady across the way went, me too, me too. And I'm like, I just made an offer. But something in that offer touched their hearts. And that's what I want you guys to learn. I want it to come from your heart, not from anything salesy.
Absolutely.
And it was very authentic. I have to say that. I mean, in our business, we sit through a lot of these. We've done a lot of this type of thing. And there's a big, significant difference when you're speaking from your heart and you're speaking authentically about the work that you do and how you can be of service and help other people. And there's a huge difference there, in that how you ask for the business versus someone who's focusing on more of the transactional, sales pitchy, type of presentation. So I have to acknowledge that that for me is a big difference.
Well, thanks for that. One thing I want to just interject here is that we kind of reject the typical sales thing where you do a presentation, you tease people a little bit, you give them a little bit of information, maybe a couple of bits of information, then you say, if you want to learn more, you're going to have to buy this program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We take a totally different approach. It's like, let's just flood them with information and give them as much as we possibly can in the amount of time we have. And then if they want more, that's great. If they think they can do it themselves, that's great. But if they want more, that's great. That's what we're here for. But, we're here to serve. It's not about we're here to serve only after we've sold something. We're here to serve. And so, you know, once you get that in your mind and your heart, it comes through, I think.
And when you're here genuinely to serve and you give away the farm, as people have told me, wow, you gave away the farm. I've been told to be stingy in what I give people.
Yeah, we think that's nonsense, really.
And it comes back to you 100-fold. Because
Absolutely.
the energy, the attraction energy that goes out to the world, it attracts back towards you more of what you're putting out there, right?
Absolutely.
And that's what we teach other people. So people who are interested in this, that's the method. I mean, that's the approach we're taking. That's the philosophy. And boy, is it a whole lot easier than that other thing.
And so Liz did a really good job at saying some of the things I want you to remember, but I want to recap what I think is most important in this offer.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah.
Remember that, number one, my goal is to move my audience from being inspired about something they heard that day to taking an action.
Right.
Notice how I position this for those of you who are really serious, those of you who are really committed. It's never positioned as a gift, nor a giveaway, nor a drawing. It's positioned for those of you who are serious and really ready to look at this. I'm setting 3 clear intentions for our time together. You get to see the impact coaching can have. We'll see if I'm the right coach for you, and you'll see whether or not you're the right kind of client for me.
Mm-hmm.
And last but not least, in our top 4, what needs going in the offer is I'm reassuring them that there's no obligation. And that's absolutely critical for them to feel safe. So remember, the words you use are pretty important. But what's most important is the beingness behind those words. You want to be confident in your offer. You don't want to be timid. You've given them value, 35 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes worth of value in your presentation, and now it's time to close powerfully with a 2 to maybe 3-minute offer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so I think people out there have probably gotten an idea of how powerful, you know, using speaking is as a way of building your business. And if you're somebody who's really serious, I mean, it kind of sounds like your offer, but if you're serious about building your business by speaking, Denise would love to tell you a little bit about how we can help. And it is not just Denise, it's me too, it is we. And then we'll close by going over some other really important information, which is the 6 key elements that we think go into making a great presentation.
Excellent.
So some of the logistics, Denise, what about what's coming up?
If I could just break in for just a moment, it's
Yeah.
Carol. Just a question that we received from the audience. Victoria asked a question, speaking about what?
Speaking
about what? What would your topic be?
Yeah, just some ideas about topics is what I got.
Okay, so first of all, the first thing you have to know, Victoria, is you've got to go back to that target market. And if you have a powerful positioning statement, that you will know who your target market is and what benefits, results, and outcomes that target market wants in the world. Mm-hmm. If you know what they want and need, then what you speak on will come from what it is they want and need.
Right.
So, for example, if you're a life coach and you work with women in transition, well, what do they need? So there may be one speech on how do you navigate change. There may be another speech that's a little bit different, but it's about how you use your mindset to move past places where you're stuck to go on to creating something bigger. A little bit different speeches. You want your 2 topics to be different from each other, different enough, and I just kind of made those up on the fly. But you want 2 topics that are different enough, but they speak to the target market specifically about what they need.
And of course, it's got to be something that's in your area of expertise you feel comfortable enough talking about, but you don't have to be the be-all and end-all expert. It just has to be something that you can present and give value with.
Any other comments from Victoria? Does that answer her question? She's asked us anything else, Carol?
She didn't respond again, but I wouldn't. Oh, she says yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just the other couple of comments. One was from Olwen, and he just said that it was a very compelling invitation, sincere, warm, and inviting. Great modeling. Thank you. And Steve said that he found the steps for starting this process very, very useful, calling them first and not emailing, and also not leaving a message. Great, valuable tips. So
Good.
Yahoo.
Good.
pass that along for you.
Fantastic.
Excellent. There's so many little things that make a huge difference on whether you're going to get those speeches booked and whether they're the right groups. So it's knowing all those little things to navigate through.
Good. Good to hear from people. Okay, so tell folks if they're interested. Now, tell them what's going to be happening, what your offer.
Well, you know, if you want to know more about speaking,
Right.
you really want to know how to use it, the ins and outs that our listeners were just saying, right? We have a speakers boot camp that Tom and I teach together. And our next boot camp, we do it twice a year. Our next boot camp starts in February. And what you get with a speakers boot camp is 3 months of group coaching by phone, followed by a 2-day live event, because that's the only way. We got to get you in front of us in order to hone your presence in front of the room.
Yeah, we make it safe. It's transformative, too, I got to tell you.
So you get both of us as your coaches through the whole program. And let's talk about a little bit about what we promise you, what you get from the program. You're going to create your 2 speech topics, your 1-paragraph descriptions. You're going to know exactly what kind of marketing materials to send out to folks. You're going to create your introduction and your offer, specifically those 2 pieces, because if you don't hit the ground running in a presentation right from the beginning, you got 2 to 3 minutes for people to decide whether or not they like you. So your introduction is critically important, and your offer, how you land at the end, makes all the difference in the world. So we work with you, edit it, work with you, play with it, make sure that you're powerful in the presentation of it. By the end of the weekend, you'll be so confident in your presentation skills. You can make an offer from a stage that moves people to a buying decision, and they don't feel pushed. Okay? You'll also know all of the logistics, everything from how to get your speeches scheduled to how to work a room and how to set up a room in the right way, because believe me, there are a lot of curveballs that can come your way, and I can cut your learning curve by teaching you some of the things that I learned along the way.
Yeah, for sure.
And you'll have access to all of our templates, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel or waste time learning what to do or how to do it.
Okay. So,
Tom,
what's it called?
before we
Okay.
get started, it's Liz. I just want to remind everybody, if you want more information about the Speakers Boot Camp and the complimentary consultation, we've typed into the chat box the URLs that will take you there. All you need to do is click those links, and it'll take you right to the website. So I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. I just
No, thank you, Liz. You're watching you got the backside of this. I love that.
Good.
So you want somebody, guys, as speakers, you want somebody taking care of the backside so that you can be present to the room. I don't need to worry about URLs and who's got a question, because Liz and Carol's got it taken care of for me, and I can care about giving you the content. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Absolutely. That's great. Okay, let's talk about cost. Everybody's going, yeah, that sounds good. How much it cost?
Yeah, how much does it cost?
How much does that cost?
So the total cost of the program, that's the 3 months of coaching, your live weekend, your program materials, and all the templates is $1,895, $1,895. Now, Tom, you and I have been talking about this lately,
Right.
and we've been noticing that there's 2 kinds of people. We just wrote a newsletter about that. There are those people who have a tendency to jump into action. They don't let anything stop themselves.
Right.
And then we got the ones that got a lot going on between their ears, and they talk themselves out of stuff they really want.
They argue for their limitations, I think is how we said it.
Exactly. So I really want to reward those of you out there who are action-oriented. If you register within the week, that's by November 8th, I set up my website so at midnight November 8th it clicks off,
Oh boy.
you'll save 10%.
Okay.
That brings the whole boot camp down to $1,705, and I'll let you pay in 3 monthly installments.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah. Okay. So what about the when's it going to happen? Dates and times. Give us a little bit more about the logistics of it.
So the calls themselves, they're going to be the second and fourth Fridays of the month for 3 months.
Okay, second and fourth Fridays of each month, so February, March, and April.
Right. Starting February 8th.
Okay.
We'll meet from 12 to 2 Eastern, and the calls will be recorded, and believe me, there are lots of times when people go back and re-listen to the calls. The live weekend is going to be May 18th and 19th, a beautiful time to be here in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yeah.
So Liz has already told folks what they want to do. So if you're ready to register, if you know this is for you and you want to hit the ground running in January and you want to be ready to speak in the first quarter of next year, then look at the chat box on your screen and where it says Speakers Boot Camp, hit that link and it'll take you and you can go ahead and register. And if you put Practice Pay in as your promotional code, then you'll get the 10% discount. Now, as I know, there's other people who might be sitting on the fence. They're not sure if this program is right for them. They have questions. I understand that, and that's why I so strongly believe in a complimentary consultation. So, if this is you, you need to talk to me further. You've got questions you want to ask. You're not sure if it's exactly right for you. Jump in and hit the link that says Complimentary Consultation. Click here. Okay? That will bring you right to me. We'll set up a time to talk. There's no obligation. I'm here to serve you. We'll make sure that we get your questions answered. Whether this course is right for you or it's not right for you, you'll know by the end of that call. Okay.
Okay. Well, that's great. I know, I've been working with you on this for 10, 11 years, and I know you're all about helping people, and that's, that's no bull. That's the real deal. So if people are interested in, they're leaning towards wanting to do this or something like this even, I mean, don't hesitate to call, and to sign up for a session. Denise is always happy to talk with you, and she does a great job on those complimentary sessions, and there is no obligation. So feel free to do it. I mean, it's your gateway to a whole different life as a coach, really, honestly. It was for you, and it can be for other people, too. Okay, so we promised people to talk about the 6 most important elements that make for a great presentation. Why don't you go through that?
Okay. So let's talk about what's most important first.
Okay, yeah.
Focus on what the audience needs and wants.
Right, you got to get in their world. It's got to be about the audience. What's in it for them?
Exactly.
Got to be audience focused.
You got to know who your audience is. That's why you do your homework ahead of time.
Right.
What it is they want, what it is they need, and make sure that you craft a presentation that's going to meet those needs and wants. That's what Victoria was talking about. What am I going to talk about? Whatever they need and want that falls within your area of focus, okay?
That's right.
So always remember that. Second most important thing, connect with your audience on a personal level. You want to be real. You want to be genuine. You want to be yourself.
Yeah, no masks.
And you really want to give of yourself.
Right.
That's so critically important. Now remember I said a little while ago, you got 2 minutes or less. It's more like 1 to 2 minutes for people to decide whether they like you or not.
Yeah, people judge a book by its cover pretty quickly. You don't have that much time to make that good first impression. That's true.
So remember, your first impression is absolutely critical to your success.
Right.
That's why we work so closely with people on their introductions to make sure they're connecting in a heartfelt, genuine way right out of the gate.
Right, and why we work so intensely with people on the calls and definitely live to make sure that they aren't putting up some sort of phony front. We want to get the real them out there, and that's what I think a lot of people have found transformative. So, yeah, I mean, that's got to happen in the beginning. And a lot of that's sharing about yourself personally, too. And open, okay. So keep going on that. What else? What else in those 6 things?
So let's talk about the introduction a little bit more. Okay, there's 5. Your introduction really does 5 important things.
Yeah.
Okay, and help me remember these in case I forget.
Oh, absolutely.
So number 1 is you're really connecting with the audience, and you're leaving them with a favorable impression. That's number 1.
Absolutely. And you want me to take them off?
Sure.
Okay. you definitely want to grab their attention and create interest, okay? Because, you know, people are just bombarded with inputs, and so you got to have something that really engages them right off of the bat. And there are many different ways to do that, but it's important to do that. One of the things you also have to do is they have to know what makes you the expert. How come you're here talking to them? So you have to establish your credibility, and that's not just reading off a list of credentials or, you know, highlights from your resume. You just kind of got to weave that in a conversational way.
And look at, you know, what I did today. I told you a story. I told you about where I was in my successes and where I came from, and then all the way up to making $750,000 in coaching income, right? I didn't have to list all of my credentials. That would have been boring, but I told you a story that established my credentials.
Right, and you've already said you need to establish goodwill and create a favorable impression. That's important, and there are all sorts of different ways to do that. A couple of things are just fairly mechanical. One of them is you need to tell people what your purpose is for being there. Okay, you're surprised how many speakers don't get up there and tell people what they're there to talk about. So you need to do that. You need to flesh that out then and give people a preview of what it is you're going to talk about.
So I'm going to remind our listeners, right? I started out with, I want to teach you how to build your business by speaking. That's my objective.
Right.
And I told you the 4 or 5 main things that we're going to cover today. That's previewing our main points.
Right, and that's the old rule from Aristotle that you tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you recap and give them a summary of what you've told them. So that's real basic stuff. And then finally, a thing that a lot of people don't do, it's just a relatively small thing, but that is let people know when it's okay to take questions. They need to know, is it okay to ask during the presentation? Should I wait till after? You're going to do it both ways, and then you roll from that right into your presentation.
So that's what's important in your introduction. Let's also talk about the body of your speech for a moment.
So what makes it compelling?
You want to use lots of stories and examples.
Right.
Stories and examples connect with an audience faster than anything of all.
Yeah, and more deeply. I mean, it's more meaningful. I mean, the research shows it, and just your experience tells you that people love stories. They love stories, examples, analogies, parables. It's what works. It's what gets points across. It's not the only thing. There are facts, testimonies, statistics, there's sensory experience, but stories and examples, nothing more powerful.
And then last but not least, okay, is keep your message simple and focused. You know, have clear segues between, you know, your different points, and only speak to 3 to 5 main points.
Right.
I don't care if you have 30 minutes versus an hour and a half.
Right.
Just because your time frame has expanded doesn't mean that my ability to comprehend and hold that information has expanded. So when your time frame expands, go deeper into those main points, not necessarily wider. Okay? 3 to 5 main points.
Very important. Okay, so let's quickly review some of the things we talked about today. Our listeners can take away with them. So again, we're modeling what we tell you to do. So tell them what you told them, and what that is what are the takeaways.
So here's what I want you to take away, if nothing else. If you remember nothing else, remember these 4 things.
Right.
Okay? Remember that the purpose of all of your marketing is not to generate clients, but to generate complimentary consultations. It'll be easier, you'll serve people, and it will come back to you 100-fold.
Changes everything. Okay.
Remember, the most important criterion in scheduling your speeches is to make sure you're speaking to your target market. In your presentation, always, always consider the audience first. What's in it for them? It's not about you, it's about them. Connect with them on a personal level. Be real, be genuine, be yourself. And keep in mind that a powerful offer that's going to bring you the results that you want requires careful crafting, a ton of practice, and a competent delivery.
Right. And then there are the 6 keys to giving the great presentation that we talked about too, and, you know, making sure it's compelling and that using plenty of stories and examples.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's great. So any last thoughts?
Well, I love stories and examples. I didn't know you were going to say that.
Okay.
So I want to close with just this little story, just a tiny little story, and then I'll bring it over to Liz. And I want to tell you about Amelia. Amelia was a young coach, a new coach, somebody who's just, I call my new coaches my new baby coaches. I love them. And Amelia's target market was new young professionals. Professionals who are really trying to, up-and-coming professionals trying to find their path in life. And Amelia had her first speaking engagement scheduled, and she's speaking to a group of young professionals on how to find your path, how to find your career path. We practice over the phone because we were working one-on-one.
Right.
We practice over the phone, over Skype. We've got the introduction down. I've edited her introduction, her body, her presentation, her offer. We've done the whole thing. We've practiced it. She's ready to talk. She's got a room of 65 people, perfect. The morning after the speech, she calls me, and she can barely speak. She is so upset. I mean, I'm like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And when finally I could get out of her mouth what was wrong, she said to me, I got 32 complimentary sessions. How the heck am I ever going to do 32 comp sessions? And I'm like, what a nice problem to have. So after I calmed Amelia down and she realized what a wonderful problem she had, Amelia did the bulk of those complimentary sessions and filled, and I promise you this is the truth, she filled her practice from that first speech.
Yeah.
And that's what's possible through speaking, and that's why I love telling you about it and teaching about it.
Yeah, that's right. You know, one thing I want to say is that, especially from the last couple of boot camps, we've gotten some testimonials, and I think if somebody expresses interest, aren't you going to follow up with some materials?
Yes, I think Practice Pay will be.
Yeah, okay. But we've gotten some really, I mean, very gratifying testimonials from people, and they are, I mean, above and beyond. People just say how they've gotten way more value than they ever thought they would get from the course, and how much it's transformed their ability to present themselves and their ideas. So anyway, just wanted to mention.
That's why you do it too, huh?
That's why I do it. Honestly, that is why I do it, because I don't have to do it.
Yep. So Liz, I know we've squeezed in a lot into your hour. Is there anything you want to wrap up with?
I do have a quick question for you about how many people participate in these boot camps.
Good
question. Liz, what a great question.
Obvious question.
Yeah, we limit it to 12 people because if we're going to we give you a ton of individual help. And we can't do that kind of individual work with people if we have more than 12, especially when we get to the weekend. So it's only 12 people per boot camp because we're committed to your success versus making a ton more money and you not getting what you need.
Yeah, right.
So that is really, really great information. And coming from someone who does spend a part of her business model speaking, I think what you're offering is a tremendous value. I know personally, and I'm not, you and I are not connected in any way. I have personally paid a lot more to be in, programs to teach me how to be a better speaker, and have been part of, much larger groups and not received some one-on-one or hands-on or personalized attention. So I do want to thank you for answering that question because I think that's an important differentiator for you with what you're offering.
Right. Have you seen any of those programs, Liz, where we're going to teach you everything you need to know and there's 100 people in the room?
Yes. I have been a participant in one of those sessions, so
right.
I know.
Or you don't actually have people standing up in front of the room doing their thing and getting feedback. It's like, how are you going to learn to do it if you don't do it in front of people who know what to be looking for? It's crazy. So, yeah, no, this is really intensive. It's very personal.
That's wonderful. I'm glad that you shared that. I think that's really important information. So, Tom and Denise, thank you so much. What a wonderful, wonderful hour we've had together. I've certainly learned a lot more about some things that I can be doing different with my business, with my speaking. You've shared some great resources and tools and ideas. I encourage everyone, connect with Denise, get a complimentary session if you're unsure, and if you're certain this is what you want to do it now. The chat box still has the links there, and all you need to do is click through. And on behalf of Practice Pace Solutions, Denise, Tom, Carol, and myself, I want to thank all of the participants who are on the call today. I encourage you to follow through on what your inner self is telling you need to do for yourself and for your business. And I look forward to hearing from all of you on our next call. So you all have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.